All right. We're live on Facebook and we're live on YouTube. Are we? 1 second, people. We're just getting back in the swing of things. This is our third Soul Speaks 5D since we've relocated to Arkansas. We got two more today, and then a special weekly kind of thing that we're going to be doing at the Pearson's house. Hang on. We are live on YouTube. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and play the intro and see if I get the bugs worked out. And then we'll bring Dr. Joe up here. So everybody take an aspirin or a Valium or whatever you need to do to deal with Dr. Joe, because he's going to be in rare form, I have a feeling. All right. How's it going, everybody? Just trying to get our, get our instincts back. We got a little different setup here. I hate to do this to you this morning, but we're going to have to put you through a little Dr. Joe episode. So, everybody take an aspirin or a Valium or a Xanax or whatever you need to do in order to deal with them. No, Dr. Joe's a great guy. We all know he's doing great work out there. I love having him on. He usually comes on about once a month. I want to thank everybody for your continued love, support, and contributions. Allow us to keep doing this every single day. And if these shows resonate with you, please share, because we're not allowed to for some reason at this time. But that's okay. So welcome everybody in the Zoom room. 60 people or so on Facebook on the different pages, and 7 people so far on YouTube. Let's get Dr. Joe up here and see what's been happening with him. Let me just find him. All right, here we go. Everybody get ready. He's got some kind of prolific Egyptian thing on there. He's trying to impress us with his intelligence. What's happening, Dr. Joe?
Everything's fine, Todd, old chap.
I'm digging the. What's that?
How the devil are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm digging the sunglasses, man. I'm totally digging the sun. I was looking for that one picture in particular that you had, where you were dressed in those same colors, but I couldn't find it.
Well, this is the representation of the rainbow bridge that's being formed between the cosmos and the people of the earth, don't you know?
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of things happening. I've been sort of I've been to some very unusual places this week, really.
Where have you been?
Yeah, I've been all over the place, mate. I can't hold my consciousns down at all.
Are you talking about etherically you've been places, or?
Yeah, I've been honest to God.
Really?
I've never known anything like this. I mean, I don't do dates, as such, like a Gregorian dates. But I do feel that this weekend, is going to be one of the most sensational times that we've ever experienced.
This weekend?
Yeah, I feel that strongly. I also got the same sort of feeling and the spring equinox as well, you know, because my birthday's the 19th of March, which is basically the end of winter and the start of spring, you know, and I felt that really, really strongly then. And since then, it's been like a roller coaster ride of ups and downs, like for everybody else as well, I know. But in myself, Todd, I feel great, mate. I feel absolutely fantastic. I've sort of got a handle on this, he says, you know. And to me, it's all about letting go, surrendering, and acceptance of what's coming forward.
Right on. Yeah. But let's go back to what you said, though. Did you move, by the way? Is that a new place?
Yeah, we moved in
That's
last
right.
October, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's good that you remember things like this, Todd, because we've spoken on more than a couple of occasions since then. Do you know that when I care about you, and I pay attention to everything you're saying? That's not true.
Well, for some reason it looks different, though. I don't know. Maybe because and why is it light out there? It's 7 o'clock. Isn't it supposed to be dark? I don't know why I have all these questions.
No, yeah, we've got another 4 hours of light, really. 4 hours.
I am totally disoriented. So,
good.
So first of all, we'll talk about the weekend thing because, God, I can't remember. I have no sense of time, but we have been in this place for I want to say 5 days, something like that. And in those 5 days, we've had, you know, which is not surprising. We've had incredible, prolific encounters, Morgan and I. But my point is today, like about 2.5, 3 hours ago, I believe yesterday morning, and I believe 2 days before that, so 4 days ago, but 3 times in these 5 days or 4 days, whatever it's been, there's been a massive wave come in. And this one that hit about 2.5, 3 hours ago, it knocked her down. She jumped in the shower to try to deal with it, and then she was out. You know, I mean, like disoriented, off planet, laying down. So I know this weekend is huge, and I think it's going to be more huge than any period that we've had before, and they've been like the one you talked about in March. But I'd like to find out first, where have you been traveling to in the non-physical, in the etherical, and were you consciously doing it, or was it just occurring?
Yeah, what seems to be happening now is that as I drop deep into meditation, what happens is in my third eye, you know, when you get all those swirling colors and all the violets and, you know, and then it goes completely black. And I've mentioned this to you before is if I just sit in that blackness, not expecting anything, what seems to happen then is a light seems to come towards me and it smacks me right in the third eye. And at that point, if I can not be knocked off balance and just maintain this surrender, and not react to it at all, what seems to open up then is a portal. And sometimes, Todd, you know, it goes in a spiral like that, and I go in it, and it's almost like I'm flying through this portal. And Todd, I come out in different places, right, depending on the navigation system that's guiding me. And I've actually, you know, and this is, whether this is me imagining it, whether it's me making it up, but it all feels very real. I've come out into this world, this beautiful, beautiful world, beautiful blue sky, green fields with a bench that I can go along and sit down and almost look out across the whole world. And what comes with it is this beautiful sense of, and this is heaven, Joe. You see, I've got a big thing really going up the back of my spine now as I'm talking about this. And I think that that's my heaven. That's my sort of dream of what heaven would be like, you know. And from time to time, Todd, when I'm sitting on this bench, looking out at this sort of vista, beings and people come to visit me. In fact, here we go. I'm starting to get sad now because my dad comes and sits with me and talks to me. And my nan comes and sits and talks to me. And the dogs and the pets that I've got before, they come along. And sometimes extraterrestrial type things come and sit next to me on the bench, and they don't speak to me verbally, but they pass information to me, you know. And don't forget, that's probably my real place. And then I have to come down to this made up version of what everything's about and try and bring that information back. And what's really coming to me more than anything else is we get the information on a need to know basis if we're in surrender and acceptance. We don't need to go out there looking and trying to find solutions ourselves,
No.
because we will be presented with it in the present moment, spontaneously when it's required. And
That's
I'm
right.
finding that now, Todd. I'm not planning anything at all. I'm just turning up, put my arse on the seat, or my bottom on the seat, and then just opening up and then waiting. I've got no expectations of what's going to happen, but I have a sense of it's all going to be all right if you trust the process. Other than that, Todd, it's just like a normal day, really.
Well, there's a couple things that stand out for me. One, I don't know if you remember this TV series. It was an American TV series, and it was probably, I want to say 1966, 67. And it was called The Time Tunnel. And these two, remember that? And these two guys.
No, I do now. Yeah, I do now.
Yeah. So, but in that movie, I mean, in that series, they had this spiral tunnel thing. It was in the like the previews, or whatever you call it, the intro. But it was also every time they would go into the time tunnel, that was the time tunnel. And when you were describing that, I have seen this time tunnel thing, and maybe it's because of those memories, but I mean, I'm talking about my whole life. Like, I can never pinpoint it. I can never go, okay, I'm going to go jump in the time tunnel. Now, the other thing that's happened, that's why I asked about the, were you trying to go somewhere, or did it just start happening? I can relate to this because I've noticed this happening. And in fact, it happened to me a bunch yesterday, particularly last night. And I went for a walk, and it had been a long day, been a long few days. And I kept leaving my body. And I would be like looking at something, particularly lights. Like there was a street light way down the street, and I just knew it wasn't a street light. So I had to walk to it. And as I was walking to it, I was like the street light. And then I was like the flies around the street light, or the insects. And then it was almost like, I told Morgan, I think it was yesterday, we were driving around, and I said, I feel like I'm on a hallucinogenic drug. And I mean, and she goes, what do you mean? I said, because all the colors are like so vibrant, and it's weird. It's almost like dream state is coming into the physical. And then the other thing that's happened too is, and it's not been intended. It just occurs, but not to the degree that you're talking about, which I think is very cool. For you to be able to go to a spot without intention and sit down with your beloved relatives and friends and souls that you've journeyed with is incredible. Because the last time that happened to me, it was about 3:00 in the morning, and I was in my underwear on one of the busy thoroughfares in Houston, Texas, and I don't know how I got there.
I know it well, mate. It takes me back to my days of blackout. I used to come around with just my underpants on, right, 3 miles away from where I started drinking. You know.
Well, I'm kidding.
I
know you had, yeah.
My thing was always to take my clothes off and go and find somewhere to swim, to be free and stuff like that.
Have you had this stuff going on too with the body? Like, I feel like I'm overheating. Yeah. I do want to take my clothes off. Yeah. I have incredible burst of energy. I have incredible, like the last 2 nights, I've made it a point to stay as late as I could and sleep comfortably as late as I could. But I wake up and I lay in bed for 2 hours. And I just lay there, and I'm very comfortable, but I feel like my body, I should be resting, but I can't sleep. And then the overheating, and the getting hot, and the getting cold, and the getting hot, and getting the cold, it's just, has that been happening to you?
Yeah, very much, mate. And some of the pains I get are incredible, really. And I just learned to accept those now, because when I was neurotic, last week, when I was neurotic years ago, I'd get a pain, and obviously it was cancer. I was going to die, and stuff like that, But now I'm like, I've got a pain. There must be some obstruction there. Please help me, de-obstruct it for me, because I can't do it for myself. Yeah. So I'm just going to surrender, get out of the way, and let you do your job, because you promised me that you'd help me to rejuvenate and go back to the way I felt when I was a young man. And I've got this thing called now a platinum rejuvenation protocol, where I'm basically going backwards like Benjamin Button. And that's what I feel like, Todd. I'm 65 years of age. Yeah. Last Sunday, I got up, I swam 1.5 miles. I went for an 8.5 mile run. I came home, did a load of marking for my academic work. I felt absolutely fantastic. Part of me said, the ego part of me said, I'll bet you'll be suffering tomorrow. And when that came in, I said, please make sure that there's no suffering and pain on Monday morning. Yeah. Todd, I swear to you, I got up, mate, put my foot on the ground, and I felt fantastic. I had no pain, no nothing at all. I did an I did about a 6.5 mile run this morning with a bit of a sort of a chat.
You're putting me to shame, man.
Yeah, but this is me, mate. It's, what I wanted to talk about really was, and it wasn't a plan, but I just got a sense of talk about this, Joe, because, from an energy perspective, when we spiritually awake, right, we get in touch with, with what's called our energy body, and that's the first sort of awakening. After that, I thought, once I've got a spiritual awakening, that would be the end of it. All suffering would be done. Couldn't be further from the truth, mate. It's a training thing. I see this as a learning thing, right, where we have to more and more get back in tune with how this energy is working its way through our body. That's the first stage of embodiment in my mind, that we allow it in. If you like, Osho would call this, is inviting Buddha to join you. So you're inviting the master to come in, and then you're surrendering to the master energy then to kick out all the shit that we've accumulated, both personally and collectively over eons of time. That's why it's painful, mate, because we work, here we go again, I'm in lecturing type mode, but it's just coming, we work on our personal stuff first. So what we do is we get a pain, we drop into it, we allow the bubble of what's representing it, right? That then shows us what it is. We can then breathe it away with love and allow it to go then. The problem we get stuck in, or I used to get stuck in, is analyzing it. I believe now we get these globules that we look at. It's there to say, this pain is associated with this event. Do you see that now, son? Yes, I do. Let it go. Thanks very much. And then you get a sort of a plateau where it's peaceful and you're flowing. And then the next bubble comes up,
Yeah. Okay, this is good. Okay, this is good. Let's stay with this. Two things. One, because you said something about a platinum process. Is that what you called it?
I've called it a platinum rejuvenation.
Platinum rejuvenation. Okay, so this is important, okay, because it's been stated for the last, 2-3 months. I know Morgan brought it in probably 3 months ago. I remember laying down and she was pulling the info in, was the last thing to align is the body, right? And so, and then of course, people have been talking about the body has been speaking as its own consciousness, basically, in the multi-human this year. It's been very prominent. A lot of people talked about that. Now you're talking about something that occurs in the body, and this just happened to me. So there's a reason, right? So I had this, with all the stuff we've been doing for the last few days or whatever, I had this like crick underneath my shoulder blades on my right-hand side. And you know how that kind of pain is. It's like, might hit up in here and then you kind of trace it down. It's coming from near the spine is what I'm saying. Like you get a crick up here, it's down here somewhere. So I took some Aleve, and usually that'll knock it out. But I noticed it went on for like 3 days. And so yesterday I was like, what the hell's going on here? Why is this? Because I've slept right, I haven't like something's going on. So I was happy that I was quick to not go, okay, what did I do? This is something energetic here. I also knew it was masculine. And to your point, I'm at the point now where I didn't have this, what is it? What did I do? What am I unconscious of? I just simply, stayed up by myself late last night, and I just kind of programmed myself. And I said, look, same thing you did. I said, I don't need to know what it is. If I need to know what it is, let me know what it is. And then I just went to that space, literally went to that space, and I had to like kind of back in, pull up. I went to that spot. I didn't try to look at anything. I didn't talk to it, which, what you talked about, which I've done before, Morgan taught me that a long time ago. I just went to that space and I said, this needs to be aligned. Do I need to do something? And I don't know how the conversation went, but basically when I went to sleep, the last thing I said to myself was, this will be aligned tomorrow. And I feel much better today.
And I think that's it now. We don't need to know. There's no analysis needed anymore. We just need to see and breathe it away and let go. You said something very important, but I feel it was important yesterday. And you said something about the truth. You know, it's the truth that hurts. Well, it's resistance to the truth that causes the pain. You know,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So the truth will set you free, but it'll cut your leg off if it needs to. You know what I mean? The truth is a double-edged sword, isn't it? You know, it's pruning away. You know, and I see that now. So any pain to me, it's a touchstone of recovery. So we get the pain in my mind because I teach integrative medicine, vibrational medicine, and stuff. Any pain is an obstruction to the free flow of chi, ki, prana, call it what you like. I call it love. It's unconditional love that's trying to come through. So it's the love that's cleaning us up. We don't have to clean our own act up because we'll probably end up cleaning a part that doesn't need cleaning because we think we know what's going on. So it's to surrender the whole understanding of it and just say, will you clean me up, please? And that's to me is what surrender's about, is that my big mind or my higher power or God or spirit or the universe or whatever, right? We allow that then for the soul to come in because we've invited it and then to make its way through. And then eventually then all the channels will be clear. There'll be full radiation of this unconditional love that's not coming from us. It's coming through us. I know that you know that I know that you know that it's us anyway at a different level. You know, it's source working through us. But the point about it is, the point I'm trying to get across is, as you mentioned, this is about alignment. And that pain that you have in your shoulder, I mean, you know, shouldering the burdens and carrying the world on your shoulders and all that sort of stuff, that might be a psychological reason. And you can sort of get engaged with that and it can take you away and to try and analyze it. You know, my view is I've got a pain here, let go, please heal it, show me what I need to do. Thanks very much. And I'll get on with my day while you're cleaning up my act. Thanks very much.
Yeah, there's something to that because there's something to it. I mean, obviously, you know, I'm in a relationship with an energy practitioner like yourself. And I picked up a lot. I picked up a lot from doing this show. But one of the things that I'm starting to get, like this thing that I can't really describe what happened last night. I tried to describe it and I know I didn't do a very good job. But the thing is, it's almost like that as soon as the information is acknowledged and in my field, whether it be a pain in my body, whether it be something I was unconscious of or whatever, it's like the moment that it's put into or in my field or it's brought into my field or presented in front of me or whatever, or I think about it and I recognize it, it's like I align with it. And I'm not saying that I do. I'm just saying it feels like that. And this is where not having to understand everything and not having to analyze everything seems to be shifting. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't see how we wouldn't have, at least for an extended period of time, with where we're at as a whole and our trajectory, I don't see how we would get away from doing some of the real human, inner work, shadow work, facing the BS, I mean, like, you know what I mean? At the gut level, at the physical level. But at the same time, I can see where there's something going on up here. And it's like, I talked to my son yesterday, one of my sons, we had a really cool 2-hour conversation and he was telling me about this stuff and he's woke and he just got woke. He said, I can't go back. But one of the things he said is, I can't explain anything, but like, I know I'm watching Alan Watts. He goes, I've been watching Alan Watts. And when I first started watching him, I didn't understand what the hell he was saying, but there was something in me that knew. So I kept watching and I said, that's it. I said, how you been doing? He said, I don't know how to tell you how I've been doing. But 2 weeks ago, I almost got, killed in a car accident and all this stuff came. And like, I don't even know, the whole world's different now. It's like, you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, how do you explain that?
But I don't think we need to anymore. It's just a knowing nod or a smile or some sort of heartfelt appreciation between two people. In fact, believe it or not, I'm saying less and less and less and less now. And I find it difficult to engage in any conversation that doesn't interest me. Now, that sounds really, really selfish, but I just can't do any small talk. I've never been able to be honest with you, but I just can't even do it as for my job now. It's just like, what do you want? Deliver the information. Thanks very much. Off you go. So it's almost like Zen. My life now is,
Yeah, you've been busy lately, and you've been busy. You've been busy at the same time. Yeah,
I have, and there's loads of people wanting me to do interviews. I've got one coming up in on New York radio thing in a couple of weeks and things like this. And I don't mind, Todd, because I don't go along and prepare anything. I just wait till somebody asks me something, and then it just starts to come.
You're going to have a star on Hollywood Boulevard pretty soon.
Yeah. And so I should, mate, because you know me, I call myself scientist, shaman and showman, or shaman and showman, because that's who I am really at the soul level. That is my express purpose of being here, is to take information and to cascade it, if you like, and radiate it both energetically and verbally to try and bring messages across, scientific messages across with some depth and weight in simple terms that most people can understand, and I know that that's my function, and I'm okay with that now. And that's what I'm trying to do all the time with all this other science. I mean, who can you trust? The science says this. Most of this science I'm listening to now is just bollocks, and I get it. And I get this thing is in my heart, and I get an emotional reaction, which is a human ego self. And I go, oh, hang on a second. So when I get a reaction, I go, hang on, is there anything I need to do here? Let it go, son. Let it go. It will all play out in divine time. You don't need to do anything yet. Well, and then I say, well, give us a shout if you need me to take an action. There's the next thing about Taoism. Sometimes you have to punch people with love to get the message across, So I used to think I had to be like Gandhi, sit there, just meditate and allow love to radiate through me, Todd, that's not for me, No. I've got, and how do I know what action to take? I don't, Todd. I just go along and say, okay, use my mind, use my body as you see fit for the good of me, my family, and for humanity. And so give us a clue if you need me to help you out, because this is supposed to be a co-collaboration. You, higher power, and me, lower power, working together for everybody's benefit. And that's how I talk to me higher power, because, somebody once said to me, you can't talk to the Almighty like that, right? And that's the old Catholic guilt thing, where you have to kowtow, bend your knee and all that stuff, all like this bollocks that's going on in the world now, And so I said, no, it's not the Almighty to me, it's me old matey,
It's
and
me.
That's my.
It's me, matey.
Yeah, it's you. Yeah, it's me, mate. And it's like Jesus. If I was going to meet Jesus, he'd be me big brother. I'd say, what do we do here? Work it out for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a couple things came up. I was observing. One of them was the hell. Well, there was I remember one of them. One of them was this prominent person, very prominent in the community. YouTube, Facebook, so on and so on. And they put up a post and just kind of blasted the hell out of everybody. Now, I'm not talking about the person. I'm talking about something that seems to be in our face right now. And what it was, it's just an example. So it's not the literalness of what he was talking about, but he was saying, okay, why is everybody just putting on these masks and not even questioning anything? And basically, I might be a little harsh on this, but like, you're a bunch of idiots. I mean, are people that stupid? And I'm like, ooh, wait a minute. Now, what I'm getting at, it's like and we've talked about this, but to me, it's getting to the point where we think we're on this side of the great divide and we are, walking on water with Jesus and Buddha, we think that we're carrying the high fucking road, but the universal energy, us, the mate, our higher mate, as you said, is there is no in between. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is we have to build bridges. It's not have to, it's force or flow. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm watching stuff like that going, oh my God, I don't want to go there, because I don't want to be on the other end of that cliff when, the next step you take is straight down 10,000 feet, But I guess what I'm trying to say is we're really we're being put into an opportunity, a place where we are able to have integrity at the deepest places in our thoughts. No bullshit. Doesn't mean you can't get emotional, but it's either now or later. So why the hell are we going to put it off? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense to me. And I because I'm tuned in, like most of us, I'm getting more and more sensitive all the time now to the way my emotional state is and the way my body reacts to certain signals, because to me, it's all about information processing at various levels or dimensions, if you like. So I just want to talk about the 13th chakra as well in a minute. But what I feel is happening is, right,
the 13th chakra. Are you going to start? Are you going to start at the 13th chakra now?
Yeah,
right
in
now?
A second. Just to say though, I think to get back to the alignments, I feel that there are some very, very simple things that people can do to help them to de-obstruct and to just get out of the way and allow the energy to come through. Because I see that some people have to go through a descension process and some people have to go through an ascension process. And on one day, on Thursday, you might have to go through ascension. On Friday, you might have to come down again. So it's best not to know. And Todd, I literally do not know what's coming up next, but I feel okay about it because I can sense this flow of energy that's guiding me. And I know when the flow isn't there because I feel shit, I feel down, I feel in pain and everything else. So to use a quote from a book I use, the AA book of recovery, it's we cut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit.
Yeah.
And we cut ourselves out by gossiping. I'm not trying to be some sort of a saint here, right? By having resentment, by having judgment, and by doing all those things, that's the thing that blocks us off from what need to feed us.
That's right. And I'm not saying that we all have the, this is so weird, but we've all had the right to be upset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've all been there. We've all been on both sides of it, consciously and unconsciously, I'm just saying that I don't think we're going to be allowed to do that much longer without paying a heavy price. Now, I love what you're talking about in terms of processes and ways of getting balanced or coming into alignment or breathing or just shutting the mind down or whatever the case is, because these things are very beneficial to us more and more frequently throughout our day for a lot of reasons. One, because we're having more awareness and we're being held accountable and our integrity is being pushed to a more and more acute, more pinpoint, field of energy that actually looks really small, but it's really huge. So all that's happening. And then you have the other thing I wanted to bring up in this conversation. So this morning, I saw a 45-second clip because I try to put myself in the front of a few things. I don't have to go deep into the rabbit holes, but just to see what's happening. But it was very interesting and it was very subtle. It was a conversation between Donald Trump and his son, and it was an interview style. So it was just a little clip. Okay. And you could tell it was staged. And I don't mean staged as in like a parody or a satire. I mean a plant. So the son says to him, "Hey, I just want to know one thing. There's one thing I want to know before you leave office. Are you going to cut the bullshit and tell us about Roswell and tell us what you know about, ETs and all that?" And the response was typical Donald Trump. It was, there's a lot of people want to know about that. But the whole point of this clip, which I think is going to start getting aired here in the next few days, if I'm correct, was to plant the seed of disclosure. what, I mean, I'm serious, not just to, somebody running up the flag here. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because we have been getting prepared for a long, long time. We have come to the conclusion that the inner work is the key. That is our go-to place. That's where we grow. That's where we grind. But there's also this pressure, if you want to call it that, this collective thing happening too, which on one hand is kind of an illusion and distraction and all that, but there's also some validity to it. And there's also some impact to it, no matter how awakened and conscious and aware you think you are. So I guess what I'm trying to say is these are the things that are on the table, and yet it sounds like, and this is, because you've talked about this a lot, and Morgan does the same thing, we all have our own practices, but there is a great benefit and almost a necessity to be able to balance, ground, integrate, focus, shut down the mind or whatever, because I think we're going to need it.
I agree. I think the next few months is going to be a wild ride, mate. I really do feel that, with every possible scenario hitting us, right? And the whole point about it is not to take the bait, no matter, because they're trying everything. I mean, over here now is they're saying that this virus thing is spread now through pets. It's spread now. So everybody who's a pet lover and a pet owner will be worried now about their pets. So this is all, I see it clearly. It's all a sort of a big game to see how fearful you get. And so the test of faith is to surrender, to accept that it's covered, right? The game's really over if you can just get your ego out of the way. It's not the ego that has to die. We can't die. The ego can't die. It's the attachments that the ego gets stuck on. That's the problem that causes the tug. It takes us away from this central processing energy that's trying to say, get your bleeding hands off the steering wheel. I'm going to chauffeur drive you through this to the next stage of your human evolution. And that's what I feel, Todd. And when I let go, I feel as though I'm being moved. When they say spirit moves you. And that's what I want to try and say. The practical details is, and I think that this will work for everybody, is drink plenty of water. Drink plenty of water. Is to move gently and subtly and allow the energy to move you, right? And as you start, this is what Tai Chi is about. Anything at all, movement, meditation, anything at all, just to allow this thing to express itself through you. So it's almost like a radiation that's coming either from deep within you or outside to within. And, it starts from bottom up and inside out. That's how the cleaning happens. Now, Todd, I could be talking through my backside here, but I really feel that I'm not, because it's with me. And all I'm saying to people is, the other thing is as well, if you've got somebody, if you're lucky enough to be with somebody who can do some massage with you and do some connective tissue rubbing and stuff like that, anything at all to create space in your connective tissue, and drinking water, because spirit works through water in the body. That's how this works. Light, well, it's all this Emoto work, Professor Emoto, he's talking about vibrational medicine. It's the light and the sound that carries the information through the water in the body, and that impacts upon the cell membranes. And the next thing is, it's almost to imagine that you're sitting beyond your bone marrow and you're radiating, or this love is radiating to your stem cells and all the way through, and these are techniques, these are Taoist techniques, I've mentioned before that Mantak Chia, he does something called the fusion of the 5 elements, and all Mantak Chia stuff is brilliant, and I've followed it for many, many years, right? And he does this one thing called cultivating your inner smile. And that, to me, Todd, is, I put a thing up yesterday, and it says that levity, the flow of levity, overcomes the force of gravity. And I know that you believe that the human being in its physical form could probably last forever if we just let this energy build us from the inside out. And also, I've done, I'm a Reiki healer, whatever this means. I feel the energy coming through me. I can transmit it. I can send distant healing and all that. Big deal. But I've done meditation where I've actually felt the flow going down my spine and starting to lift me up at my bottom. Do you know what I mean? And I've seen people doing this. I can't do it fully, but I can understand the principles behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm only sorry that I didn't know, or the human race didn't know this, right? Because I believe, and I'll shut up in a second, give you the go, but I believe that the way the Egyptians built the pyramids was based upon vibrational understanding of how energy can be generated and focused in certain ways, you know. And I believe that, and whether that's far out wacky, but it's in me, Todd, and I know it's the truth at some level.
Well, I know you were there. I remember Egypt.
Yeah.
I was a very robust and muscular giant.
Eunuch. Oh no, I thought you were a eunuch. You're one of those Ethiopian eunuchs.
Well, I didn't say I was a slave. I was a worker. But no, what you're bringing up is all related. You know, like what you said about the if you're with someone, because I know. And I could even speak in the past week, but this energy I was talking about at the top of the show that came in, and she always gets it first, you know, and she gets it more, you know, it seems to like affect her body much more than it does me. Occasionally, I mean, I can feel myself being queasy. I was queasy last night, you know, I was nauseated and I said, something's going on. But it really hits her. But I notice, and I will, I'll just, you know, put my hands on her back and I'll just start moving it. And I can tell, no words, no explanation, no nothing. And it just, and it does help. The other thing that I think that's happening too, you're talking about all this energy is being constricted. And I've noticed, particularly in the last month, that my energy level is increasing rapidly. To include, you know, my circulation, my endurance, you know, my equilibrium. I mean, everything. I don't know. I feel light, and it's really affected me in a positive way. I feel like a teenager. So, and I'm not kidding. I'm making a joke about it, but you know, I have been chasing Morgan around a little bit more than usual. but I'm making a joke about it, but I really believe, you know, what you said a minute ago, that, hey, I know you believe that we can go on forever. I really do. I really think that this is actually what we've done. We've actually, the gods and goddesses have actually said, okay, we have all these levels of ourselves. We have all these dimensions. We've built this Eden, you know, we've built this grand experiment to where we can actually fully come in from the highest level and integrate with we'll call it the lower level or the most physical level, and do the things that we do in all these dimensions in this dense environment. And I believe that this is a big part of it, you know. I mean, if Noah and Methuselah and all of those folks lived to be 800-900,000 years old, and our potential is way beyond that, in my mind, anyway.
I'm in the same place. I mean, you and I think quite similarly about things, you know. I guess this 13th chakra, you know, in ancient Egypt, they believed that we had 13 chakras, the human being. The 13th chakra being the master vibration, which is sometimes called the Earth Star. It doesn't matter what you call it, because when we get into naming things, it just...
So 13, so they had 13, the Egyptians?
Yeah. They have 13. There's like a master chakra, and then there's 12 offshoots of it. And this is what comes to the 12 disciples, 12 disciplines, and all that.
Where's the 13th located? I mean, is there
it's located just below the heart, above the solar plexus. That's the feeling of it, really. We talk about gut reactions. The way I see it, it's a bifurcation of the aorta, the descending aorta, where it bifurcates like that. Right, it's that spot there that seems to be. But the point I'm trying to make is, go on.
No, I was just going to ask the question, because some people, I can't even remember where all this comes from. I know that some of this came from Morgan when we connect. But I remember 3 or 4 months ago, they talked about the soul chakra, and the soul chakra was between the solar and the sacral. And other people talked about it too. May not have called it that, but they were talking about this new chakra or portal or something that was between the solar and the sacral. Now you're saying this is between the heart and the solar, right?
Yeah. Okay. And this is, I think that's called the heart of hearts, and that's where my soul, that's where I feel, you know, when you got soul music on it, you can feel your soul expressing itself. That's where it comes from in me, right? And I think it's to do with, we talk about the fight or flight response. We've got fear, and then we go into the fight or flight response, whether it be conscious or unconscious perception of threat. So what actually happens at that point is the blood that's normally in the visceral organs, they're those deep organs for digestion. When we perceive a threat, it switches, it shunts, and all the blood then is flushed to the muscles then for fight or flight. That's the gut instinct feeling when we perceive a threat. I think that you can feel it. Well, I can feel it coming now, and I can breathe it away before it manifests in any tension, you see. And I think that that's what martial arts, Tai Chi and all that, that's where they're trying to help people is it really worth reacting and getting tight and suppressing and repressing this, or can you let it go? I just want to talk about sex and sexual energy, right? Because it's important. Because I think for years and years and years and years, we've been programmed to believe that anything sexual, generally speaking, it was naughty, it was against the law, it was dirty, all that stuff. That's where the power comes from. And what's happening now is, you know, that as people are waking up now, they're being overloaded with these feelings of an almost human nature. And if they've still got the repressive head, it's going to kill them, mate. Honestly, if they don't know how to accept, okay, I'm getting these like lustful type feelings. It's not lust. It's just energy that's starting to express itself. The way to balance that out, Todd, is once again, is go sink deep into your heart, open up and say, will you please transform this energy into something positive and useful? You know, because if you don't, if it goes from your sexual organs into your gut and then into your head, it will drive you mad. And you'll be off chasing all sorts of things. You'll get into all sorts of trouble, you know. So what you know, we talk a lot about Kundalini and stuff like that. But I feel now the great awakening that's happening is also, it's a great global awakening of Kundalini. And if you don't know how to get it past, seriously, me slobbering like a rabid dog again. But if we don't get
sexual energy moving up,
Well, but the point is, if we don't allow it to get past our sacral chakra, right, and up our spine, and to be transformed into something positive before it hits the head, right, it'll drive us insane. So what I'm trying to say again is that the heart is the moderator and the mollifier and the mediator of this energy. And this is, again, anything movement-wise that can open the heart and allow it to come out and express itself in a positive way will help people to stay balanced and grounded. You know?
I totally agree. I wish that I could quickly, concisely explain from a sexual energetic standpoint my journey over the last 2 or 3 years. Well, since Morgan came the first time. And I know it seems like there's some type of, and there is a correlation because of she's the feminine incarnation, physical incarnation of me, basically, whatever, you know. But I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that I know, because I made reference to it a minute ago, the last month, the last 2 weeks, the last week, it's like, I can't even explain it. The sexual energy, and I guess it'd be the sacred sexual energy, or the Kundalini, or the Chi, it would maybe a better way to explain it so people don't get caught up in the term sexual. But it is expanding in a relaxed, organized, aligned way. I'm not getting too animalistic, you know. I'm like, when it starts to really, but at the same time, that part of me is there. It's crazy. It's just fucking crazy. And it's spectacular and amazing. So we've had a couple of really powerful moments since we've been here. But at the same time, what you're talking about, we went to look at furniture a couple days ago, and we were just walking around this big furniture store, and she just walked by me and just kind of touched me, you know, like just ran her hand on my lower back, you know, on my waist, and just nothing meant by it. But I'm telling you that my Kundalini, my Kundalini went bananas. And I'm sitting there, and I was in a pretty passive kind of mode. I'm just like walking around, you know, and I started moving. You know, I could just feel my body just lighten up. She's like, what are you doing? We're supposed to be going up and down, up and down. I'm like, man. And I didn't want to say anything because I was actually enjoying it. But this is, I think that we're actually, at least we're going to pass through this particular familiarity of being in an orgasmic, euphoric, ecstatic state at all times, and actually being okay with it, and it's natural, and then who knows what happens from there. I don't know.
I agree. And some of the signs of this happening, if you can relax and just surrender to it, is that you'll start yawning, loads and loads of real yawns. And then you'll find that your eyes might be watering, not through crying or anything like that. It's just that all those sort of nurturing type feelings that are coming from the feminine side of our life. The feminine's always associated with moisture and deep and dark and black and all that sort of thing, you know. So if that's resetting itself, right, or if the masculine can get out of the way and allow the feminine to rebalance itself, we will get all these feelings emerging. And the sexual energy, the Kundalini, it's a feminine energy. This is the whole thing, is, you know. And Todd, the other thing that comes with it is feelings of violence as well, because if you don't know your own true power at depth, you'll always feel at some point emotionally insecure. So the whole point about, again, is, and this is where martial arts, Aikido, Kung Fu, all these things, all the soft flowing arts, right, are useful to allow this to de-obstruct and let it be washed away and recalibrated and balanced again. I just want to say something again. If I was going to prescribe anything to anybody, it would be Hatha yoga. Hatha yoga, because it's got all the essential ingredients that treats all the different physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, starting from the spiritual. It's a fantastic process. If you get a good teacher who's not trying to get you to contort yourself in all sorts of ways that you'll never get to, they'll take you from where you are and they'll help you and guide you to the next stage of flexibility. So all this is part of it. I know I'm sort of going on rapidly.
No, this is all good stuff, man. We got 175 people on all platforms. So this is great.
So the idea is, if your head's battered, generally speaking, you can't think your way out of that, because you just add into the confusion. So you have to act your way out of it in a movement way. You know, so go a little jog, put some music on, have a dance, do some drum, anything at all, whatever blows your frock up, right? Whatever you feel released by, do that, you know. If it means getting close to your loved one and doing, you know, and all
that's the one I want. That's the yoga I'm looking for, the horny yoga.
Yeah. Well, if it works for you, but you know, believe it or not, Todd, that doesn't work for everybody. Right?
I'm just kidding. I'm excited. No, what you're talking about though, my son that I was telling you, we talked last night for 2+ hours, and it was amazing. You know, the whole thing was amazing. But one of the things that we kept talking about was like, how do you explain this? And so he's a basketball player. I was a basketball player, and we love basketball. And he's also a skateboarder, you know, and I'm a dancer, right? And I said, well, you know how it is when you're playing full court basketball. There's no coach. There's no rules. It's just, you know, freestyle, 10 guys running up and down the court. And you just feel good. And you're able, and you do these things. You're not even thinking about it. Everything's instinctive, you know. You know, skateboarding, I'm sure is the same. Dancing can be the same. How do you explain that that's the energetic field that we approach? It's almost like a Kundalini, almost like an ecstatic experience with the you know, the internal and external surrounding, right? It's like you're making love to whatever. It's amazing. And I said, that's what it feels like to me. He goes, Dad, that's what I'm getting to. Like, I can't plan anything. Like if I start to attach, he used these words, attachment. He said, everyone's talking about attachment, you know, and I mean, it was like talking to somebody on the show. Now, this kid's never talked to me about this. He's 23 years old, 22, 23 years old. So there's that ecstatic, euphoric, orgasmic, energetic, that's kind of scary. You know, I know when I had I had 2 Kundalini experiences about his age, about 24, 25, and it scared the living hell out of me. I shut it down. The second one came, I shut it down. I was like, oh, I don't want to go there, you know. But
I think you know, I don't think you're alone in that, because I think what happens is we've been so suppressed, or we've allowed ourselves to be controlled and suppressed. They didn't do it to us. We allowed it at some level. That's the thing. So that takes away the pointing the fingers at what's gone on outside. So the whole point is, sometimes when we've been so miserable for a long time, it's almost like we need to give ourselves permission to feel some joy, you know. And this is the thing about alcohol, you know. Alcohol, it gave us the ability to act extemporaneously. That means without a script. So it was a disinhibitory effect that delimited us temporarily and allowed all this suppressed energy to free itself. And that's the addiction thing. Drink, drugs, sex, buy it, whatever works for you to give you that feeling of unrestrained bliss. That's the thing you get hooked into. Well, now we're being given the opportunity now of not needing any chemicals to get there.
That's right.
Just surrendering naturally to this blissful feeling that's trying to make its way through every single orifice of our body. And when I say every single orifice, I mean every skin pore.
Yeah, every pore, every cell.
Body, every single cell of our body, because every cell's got a polarity. So this is almost like a repolarization of every cell. But Todd, we don't have to do anything except get out of the effing way and allow it happen to us.
Right? That's right. That's right.
And I think, see, I mean, I'm obviously on one now. And enthusiasm from the Greek, it literally means to walk or dance with God. Right. Yeah. That's what it means. Enthusiasm. If we're doing stuff and it doesn't bring joy or enthusiasm, we're definitely, in my view, unless we're working through something, we're on the wrong path. It's got to be joyful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, in talking to my kid, I think I'm actually going to do this weekend, like tomorrow or the next day, Saturday or Sunday, I'm actually going to sit in front of the camera and do, because I can't bring him on, you know, and I'm going to do like a solo show for an hour and just talk about all the stuff that was in that. It was a huge download, man. I did a show with Broder Bilal earlier in the day, and that was like the craziest show I've ever done in my life. I mean, he couldn't get on. We couldn't understand him. There was a healing. There was all this silence. All these people are crying. The numbers just kept going up. I mean, it was like, whoa. And I got off of that and I had to lay down. Then I talked to my kid, you know, and when I got off of that call, I was like, whoa, I was like knocked off my equilibrium. But anyway, what he was talking about the same thing you're talking about. He was saying, I was like, well, you know, what are your plans? He said, well, you know, I'm getting out. I got 3 more classes. I'm out of university. And then, but I think I want to come back. I said, what do you want to do? He goes, I don't really know yet. He said, but what I do know is that, in other words, I'll just paraphrase it. What I do know is that I want to do what I like doing. And I'm going to find out what I like doing. But I'm not going to go get on this fucking conveyor belt over here that I bought into hook, line, and sinker. And I just figured this out over the last few months, but particularly 2 weeks ago after this car accident. He even said to me, Dad, when you were doing all this Sology stuff in like 2014, 2015, I didn't know what the hell you were talking about. He said, now I'm starting to get it. But it's not about me. It's just, and here's what's really amazing to me. So this kid's 23, be 24 this year. And I know him personally, and I know you. And yet you two are talking about the same exact thing. Okay. And he went a different road, obviously, than you did. And he's sitting here talking about, I know one thing. So he basically, the way he explained it was, he said, if I feel pressure, you know, if I feel like, you know, in other words, that's what he was getting at. I'm not going there, you know, spending a lot of time alone, a lot of self-introspection, you know, I mean, it was amazing. But what really amazes me is how many kids are out there like that. I mean, how big is this thing? I think it's pretty fucking big. I really do. I don't think this is like, I think we're talking about whatever that number is, doesn't matter, number of human beings. It's the energetic field of those people, whether it's 100,000 or 100 million or 1 billion. The energetic field of this is just way beyond anybody's comprehension.
As part of my job, I work with 14 to 19-year-olds, and there's a group of them. They could be special needs and stuff like that, and they're all in a corner, and they'd be called the geeks and the weirdos, and I fit in very well with them. But they can like work out a computer program in about 10 seconds, you know what I mean? And they're in the corner. So you've got that going on one end, right? Then you've got other mature students on the other side at a different vibration. This is all in the cafeteria. So it's like going into the Starship Enterprise bar and seeing all these aliens from everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the environment I live in. And it's like being bombarded with information at different vibrations coming in. But I've got used to it now where I can go in and just relax. And it's almost like all this info comes in. And where it used to knock me off my feet, I can sort of allow it to be processed now through an open and flowing heart. I just want to talk about, before we go, right, the 3.5 chakra. We've got the heart, we've got lower hearts, and I keep saying inverted triangles. So this is the apex of one triangle and the other one's upside down. I can see that humanity's being pushed up through 3.4 into 3.5, and when it gets to 3.5, because that's the Vesica Pisces, it's like a narrow, it's almost like a birth. This is like a birth canal, right? That we're all being pushed up by this energy, but the resistance is we want to keep back going down again. The idea is if we surrender, then the birth will be easier. We'll come up from 3.4 to 3.5, which is 0 point, and then we'll be moved then into the 3.6, into the higher heart. I've got no idea what that's all about, but I keep seeing the same picture. So what I'm trying to say to people is, if they're feeling disturbed, in pain, I know it's a hard thing to accept, try not to work it out. Understand that this process is much, much, much bigger than you can possibly understand at the moment. But you will see it when you look back in a few months' time what it was all about. So for the moment, trust the cosmos, trust spirit, trust your soul, and just allow yourselves to be navigated through this new birth. There we are, like Father Delaney, in nomine Patris et Filio et Spiritus Sancti.
Hang on a second. This is fascinating because, and I talked about this. Here it is. I talked about this a couple of days ago. This dude, this kid, and he's talking about what you're talking about. He's just explaining it a different way. Okay. Matthias De Stefano, and he's on Gaia, and he's got one full season, and then he's got 3 episodes so far this season. It's been a big deal for me because a lot of the stuff he's talking about is stuff I downloaded years ago, not as well as he did or not as in depth, but it was very validating, and it's just a very high level of truth frequency in his delivery. I mean, but anyway, he talks about, like Franco, he talks about, hey, and what you alluded to earlier, we designed this thing, we put this thing together, we all did, and there was a purpose and there was a mission, and he talks about it. But when you start talking about these inverted triangles and putting it in those terms, okay, one of the things that he said, he spoke about the pyramids that we put here. We put the pyramids here as power centers, as receivers and transmitters, and that when you're at a certain frequency, the pyramids don't look like pyramids, they actually look like spheres, okay? Now, what he said was, what he described as our objective was what you just said we're heading into. Now, you said it a different way, but he said basically what the objective is to create these mergings of the 2 pyramids, which is the Merkaba or the tetrahedron or whatever you call it, or octahedron. And he said for everyone to reach that point. And when you're describing these hearts, the 3.4, 3.5 thing, to me, that's what it seems like. And so to me, that's a good sign. That's solid. To me, that sounds congruent to what he's talking about. And I pay a lot of attention to what's being presented, because of the synchronicities and all that. I just think we're doing a hell of a job. And I think that the strength or the size or whatever you want to call it of our collective awakening is not only has it reached massive proportions, but it's moving at a massively, fast rate.
And I think I keep putting a new word out. It's called soulocracy, because democracy is dead. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the principles behind it were the same as what I'm talking about now. But to me, it's all about collective individuality, that the more unique we are, the more we express our individual uniqueness, right? That's what's going to bring the world together. It seems paradoxical that people who are different vibrations, right? But this is about harmony. It's like a great big conducting process where we're all playing our instruments at different frequencies and vibrations, but the music that comes out will be complete harmonious, So any unscrupulous organizations would want to standardize us, like the Borg in Star Trek, they'd want us to have uniforms and look exactly the same and talk in the same monotonous way. So the whole point is, and Soulology, right? Soulology to me is where individuals come along and express their uniqueness, and they're not laughed at, they're welcomed, because they've got the balls and the bottle to be who they really are, not sort of fitting into some sort of standard pattern of idealism, that's in somebody else's mind, So soulocracy, right, will be
that's
intelligent kindness. It will be literally making decisions, right, from heartfulness, not any trickery or political sort of trickery that goes on in their head, but it will just be, this is what we need to do, or this is what I need to do. And so that's what I'm sort of working on.
Right on. We'll do it. Let's do it again next month. And we got Martin McNichols coming on in 24 minutes, so I got to get ready for that. And then we have a new friend, a beloved sister, Vivian Moon's coming on like an hour and a half after that. But yeah, let's do it. And we're getting settled over here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to have a home base. We made it by the skin of our teeth.
Well, that thing you did with the Pearson boys, that was like some sort of it was like a scene out of Deliverance.
I didn't want to go on. But those boys had been waiting since January. They've been writing and putting thought into producing broadcast shows. So I'm going to go back tonight. I won't be in the state I was in last week. I'm going to go back tonight, and we're going to do it right. And as long as they want to keep coming to the table, I'm willing to support that, as long as it's something that people are going to benefit from. So I'm looking forward.
Honest to God, Todd, it was brilliant. I felt like getting me bangs out. Anyway, mate, it's lovely to be back, to see you, and and hopefully let's meet up again soon and carry on.
We will, we will, and other collaborations too. We just got to get stabilized, and things we've talked about. It's all coming. Take care, brother. I'll see you later. See you all.